get through this. We'll get through this through faith, and we'll get through this on the basis of the good and strong people of this community and of this great state.
Vice President Mike Pence in Sutherland Springs, Texas tonight, lending his support to a community in mourning after Sunday's church shooting. He attended a vigil and visited the injured. Today, we learned the congregation will host a Sunday service exactly 1 week after the shooting that killed 26 people, including an unborn child. The attack took the church by surprise, those inside defenseless against the gunman. We put out an informal poll on Twitter tonight asking you, would you feel safer knowing people in your place of worship were carrying guns for protection? Half of those who answered say yes. And as 7 Eyewitness News reporter Jeff Rusak tells us tonight, at least a few houses of worship here in Western New York are considering weapons as they explore better ways to protect parishioners.
Outside the Bethesda World Harvest International Church in Buffalo, you'll often see these two men, Don and Guy. Whenever they're needed, they volunteer as security guards. It's usually 2 times a week.
They know pretty much who's coming and who's going.
On Wednesday night, the church holds a Bible study. Andre Scott is a minister and says anytime there are people worshiping, they provide security.
But we try to make sure that our people are protected. So we make sure that our guys follow the women to the cars when it's over, to make sure they're out there when they're coming in just for their safety.
Other places of worship across Western New York are examining their security procedures following Sunday's church shooting in Texas. Some are even calling Defensor. The Grand Island company specializes in training people on how to handle active shooter situations.
We are about intelligent, armed individuals, highly trained individuals. We are not for arming everybody.
Some of the churches asked about having armed parishioners. Some didn't. Defensor helps in both situations.
We go through everything from behavior detection and response. How do you recognize these types of active killers and what their mindset is?
The staff at Bethesda World Harvest says after what happened in Texas and the 2015 shooting at a South Carolina church, they will continue to explore and develop their security.
We don't want to take away from the worship, but you also have to be vigilant and make sure that people are protected.
Now, we asked you on Facebook whether or not you would like someone to be armed in a place of worship. Scott Deming Jr. said, absolutely. If someone came after you with a gun, wouldn't you want to have a chance at least? Allison Spindler Olson said, absolutely not. This isn't the Wild West. Your delusions of being a hero are just that, delusions. Jeff Rusak, 7 Eyewitness News.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. We aren't even a week into, a week past the horrific shooting in Texas, and we are learning more and more and more about the investigation as each day passes. We are also learning that churches here locally in Western New York have apparently been reaching out to a security firm on Grand Island to find out how they can better secure themselves, because this is a place of worship that was shot up on Sunday, and we've got Sunday Mass coming. A lot of places of worship are concerned about should they better prepare themselves.
Yeah, a lot of places, right, in general. And then you look at places of worship being concerned in the light of what happened. And there's a company that is offering training of how to be better prepared in the event of, I can't even imagine, of being prepared to handle such an event at a church, but this is the reality, that we're dealing with at this time. So there's a company called Defensor, Inc., which tells us that they have received several calls from places of worship on how to address this situation, how to be better prepared. And they have a list of things that they took our Jeff Rusak through tonight on how to even, think about these attacks in different ways to just, I guess, to have a better mindset, to be better prepared. They have 6 tips they actually go through, and this is, these are the things that we're dealing with. These are the things that, that people want to know more about. And rightfully so. I mean, it's still so fresh. I mean, the horror and the tragedy, like you mentioned, from just a short time ago is still so fresh that, many people are just trying to get, not only wrap their minds around it, but think, what could have been done any differently? I can't imagine, for one, what could have been done much differently. If the folks there had been better prepared, maybe that could have could have saved some lives in that matter.
Well, and the preparedness comes, according to this company, Defensor, that it comes in the form of behavior assessments. What signs to look out for in personalities? What kind of behaviors they are exhibiting and displaying that could be red flags. That's a lot of what they have to do, and then as well as coming up with an action plan.
Sure.
You know, if something happens, immediately your instincts go to that plan.
Scenario training.
Right.
Casualty care for your staff. Like you said, the assessment of individuals. What some of the details of what some of these folks have shown in the past in terms of, like you said, behavioral assessments, understanding why people may go about and choose their targets. Mm-hmm. Everything from learning to cover and conceal from when an attack is going on, but to me it's mind-numbing to think that this is what we need. We apparently need to go through, that we apparently need to be aware of in places of worship in this day.
And so there is, of course, the debate of should there be more weapons in the church. That has been something that has come up throughout the day, not just here in Western New York, but also throughout the country, right? This is becoming a national conversation. And this company says, look, we are not for having everyone armed with a weapon for protection. But we did ask people on social media what their thoughts were. It was pretty divided, but there was a majority, and again, this is not scientific whatsoever, but as we learn that these churches are looking into how to be better prepared and how to increase their security, it was a timely question to be asking that. And there was a majority that swung in the direction of we would feel more comfortable having more people with weapons for protection. Interesting. Obviously, that is a very, very controversial debate, I think is probably the best way to put it. But yeah, this is something that is going to be a question that and a reflection that churches have as we learn more about this particular case that happened in Texas, and as we unfortunately feel a much higher frequency than I feel we have felt before of these attacks happening all over the country.
You feel very vulnerable. We feel very vulnerable. You wonder, what can be done. You question everything. But it's very clear that you feel very vulnerable after something like this, and you do start questioning just about everything. And the debate over the guns is one that has been going on for a long time, one that will continue, one that's understandable. But this is very interesting to me. It really is interesting to me.
And you say what can be done, and this is something that it feels like after every one of these mass shootings, there is this question of what can be done. And we saw what happened in New York City, and things were done. Action was taken, at least for that bike path. They put up barriers, and then the Senator Gillibrand put forward legislation saying that we should give counties more money and states more money to create more barriers and put up more bollards and that sort of thing. What's going to happen this time around? Who knows? But at least people are talking about it. I think that is not something that we can dismiss. People are saying, what can we do? Because you cannot prevent these attacks, but you can prepare for these attacks.
Exactly right.
So
exactly right. And being prepared, even mentally.
Yeah.
And what to do if this were to happen, I guess is a step forward.
Yeah.
And is one way that I think a lot of people may feel the necessity to have, is an understanding of what you should be doing in case of this. And it's amazing to me that we have to have these discussions, but it is. I mean, this is where we are.
Important.
Yeah.
It's important. Let's get to a couple comments. So Larry says, we could all use it. Thanks for the story. Actually, a little heat goes a long way in terms of deterrence. Debbie says anyone should offer free classes to protect themselves as to what signs and behaviors to deal with on a daily basis. This is the world that we live in. It's very scary. I, for one, would love to know how to protect myself and my family if the thought of threats came before me. So this is exactly the same kind of question that these places of worship have been inquiring to this company on Grand Island about, Debbie. So yeah, you're on the same page as these folks. Mike says armed off-duty police officer that might be a church member would be a great idea. Mike, actually, the church that we are going to be visiting tonight at 11 o'clock, they have volunteers who are members of the congregation, and they act as security guards, so to speak, at their church. And they also have people walk women to their vehicles after the service and that sort of thing. So again, you're on the right track. I think
I don't believe those individuals are armed. I understand the off-duty in terms of saying that. Any deterrent, though, right? In any way, that would keep somebody even away from the thought of it, I guess, could go a long way.
Ruth thinks that more people do need to be armed. She says, everyone that is solid-minded, get armed. We are sadly putting mentally unstable on the streets with obvious no recourse. Now it's time to take up arms if you feel safe and able. The problem that I have with that, Ruth, is that people might feel safe and able, but they may not be actually mentally stable. I unfortunately have people in my world that are dealing with mental health issues right now, and they don't know that they are. It's their loved ones and their caregivers who have to be very vigilant and know that they have to take care of these people, because they aren't in that frame of mind to be able to even recognize their own instability. So that's the only thing that I think could be problematic there. But anyway, obviously a mix of thoughts and opinions about this very heated debate. No one wants to feel like they're in 1984 and Big Brother watching, right? Nobody wants to feel like there's this weight on them. But at the same time, people want to be safe. So it's an ongoing debate.
Right.
It'll continue. This conversation will continue in this country.
I think it's an important debate, and I think it's an important conversation. And I think the debate it goes a long way, but I also think action in some way does as well. I mean, we can talk about it for forever.
Been the problem,
You can talk this side, you can talk that side, and all that's great, and all that's that's fine and dandy, and it's our right to do so. And I absolutely agree with that. I think somehow, some way, at some point, we have to bring sides together.
Totally.
And to figure out what the best solution is. I don't know what that is. And I don't. And I don't think if people were able to do that and have the end-all, be-all solution,
right.
Then I think we'd be a lot further along. But I understand the debate. I think it's an important debate, and especially with the things that continue to unfortunately happen in this country.
Yeah, well put. We will leave it on that note. Well said, Jeff. So join us tonight at 11 o'clock. You'll find out more about this effort and this inquiry from churches. Jeff Rusek on that story. Hannah Buehler has an update on the 198 and the future of the 198 near Delaware Park. And
it's going to get cold.
Oh, yeah. I'm already wearing my coat just to try to keep my body warm with the thought of the temperature dropping the way it's going to.
Very.
See you, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you soon.